Alright, it's crazy out here. This one scares me a little bit, but I'm gonna do it. You know I'm gonna do it. Okay, so today I have had to do some research based on a Brazilian educator. His name was Paulo Freire. Like I said, he's a Brazilian educator, so please don't be making fun of me because I can't say his name. This assignment is not for school. This is actually a free will type thing that I'm doing. But the information was so surprising to me. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna do it. But anyway, Paulo Freire, he's a Brazilian educator, and he's the one who came up with the critical conscious theory. All right. Now, the critical conscious theory is basically a theory that states that oppressed people, they cope with racism in many different ways. Actually, the article said that they cope in one way, but me being from where I'm from and seeing some of this stuff happen in my life, I can tell you that it's multiple ways. I'm sorry I keep saying I took a speech class and I still say forgive me. But basically, it was reported that African American adolescents reported experiencing individual racism at least once in a 2-week period. Now, this is every African American, because about time I was an adolescent, I had adolescence when you about you're preteen 12, teenager 13, 14, 15. That is what I regard as adolescent years. But as I look back, I was experiencing racism first, second, third grade, as long as I could remember. But according to this article, black adolescents, they are able to notice it and recognize it and make reports. This is when they are able to notice racism as racism, and they are able to process what they're either going to do about it or how they are going to go about it. But this was the most shocking news. Racism has been shown to cause anxiety, symptoms of depression, and chronic stress to those who are oppressed. I'm looking to my left right here because I wrote so much that I had to type it in my phone. No, I typed it on Word on my phone, Word app on my phone, because I'm in a bit of a situation. But it was so much information, I had to copy it and text it to my other phone because I didn't want to miss too much. And even now I'm going through it because I'm trying not to pause and say and stuff like that. So how I'm presenting it to you is not how I wrote it. But basically, like I said, racism has been shown to cause anxiety, symptoms of depression, and chronic stress to those who are oppressed. It even affects African Americans as much as compromising their autonomic nervous systems, which leads to cardiovascular disease. Wow. Racism is so powerful and scary, especially in certain areas, that it can lead to cardiovascular disease. Well, according to Freire, if I'm saying his name right, I might freestyle Freire. Critical consciousness is composed of 3 elements: critical reflection, critical agency, and critical action. Those are the 3 elements. Okay. The article defined critical reflection as the analysis of structural causes of inequitable socio-political conditions. So basically, you are you are in a situation where you are in the situation of critical reflection when you are first able to recognize that you are living in this unjust society. And, like I said before, black youths, that is the period when they are able to recognize that they are living in an unjust and racist system, is when they are adolescents. Me, like, when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade, I just knew that my teacher kind of like didn't like me. Miss Cushman and Miss Harvey, I'll never forget them too. And I had a 1st grade teacher, she was kind of bent up too. Now my 2nd grade teacher, Miss Harris, she was cool, she was very nice. But, I could see that those other teachers, they treated me different. But in the 2nd grade, I didn't know why. I'm not in the 2nd grade, in the 1st grade, I didn't know why. My 2nd grade teacher, she was very nice, Miss Harris. Shout out to her. I still remember her name. Out of Charles Avery. Yeah. Miss Harris, 2nd grade, she was very nice. But 3rd grade, Miss Cushman, 4th grade, Miss Harvey, I ain't got nothing for them. They were like really mean. And it wasn't just, it was like just to me or just to a few fellow other students. And I know I wasn't bad, like I was a little slow, don't get me wrong. But like, she even went as far as like telling my mom that she should put me on a diet. Like, and sometimes that we don't understand that this is the, this is a result of, having a racist teacher. And so after critical reflection comes critical agency. Okay. Now, critical agency is a belief and is defined as the perceived ability to enact social change. In 2nd, 3rd grade, I didn't think I was going to enact any social change. You're not thinking of that. You don't even know if it's that serious. I definitely wasn't thinking about it in high school. So, critical agency. Again, critical agency is the belief and is defined as the perceived ability to, make changes in society. And, lastly, you have critical action. Critical action is when critical reflection and critical agency motivates those that are oppressed to take action to address the inequalities in our system. So, that was a short summary of the Brazilian educator Paulo Freire's critical conscious theory. All right, now I'm gonna get down here. There are a lot of ways which African Americans are oppressed, okay, in the United States, and this takes place on multiple levels. It's not just your fellow American riding down the street with a Trump flag, or not saying that all Trump supporters are racist, but it's not just the individual. This also happens at institutional levels. Again, like I said, if you have a child or if you yourself have experienced something that looks like racism in school, that is a definition of institutional racism. There are 3 types of ways that racism can manifest itself. Racism manifests itself through individuals, institutions, and culture, okay? Now, an example of individual racism is bigotry. That's your, that's your old police officer saying, hey, I know your dad, I know that nigger, or something like that, because they used to do that, like, my other half said they used to talk to her about her dad like a police officer. Like, that's individual racism, and that's institutional racism because he was a cop, so that's all screwed up. But That's an example of individual racism. An example of institutional racism is perhaps going to school and realizing that your teacher doesn't show as much patience with you, or whatever you do to try to get ahead in that class, to become successful, you just not, it's just not clicking for you. And even when you try to get ahead and become successful and you really, really try your hardest, you're even reprimanded for this. It kind of looks, they kind of treat you like whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you're going to do. Like, you're not going to make it. You know what I'm saying? It can even be like, one of them days where y'all say what y'all want to say, what y'all want to be. Oh, I want to be this, or I want to be that. Like, I remember some kids in my class saying, like, I want to, be a doctor. And teacher was like, oh, you'll never be a doctor. That is a definition of, that is the definition of institutional racism. Now, institutional racism is what leads to cultural racism in most situations. Now, cultural racism is perhaps the court systems and the prison systems. Like, I went to jail one time, and although like white people outnumber black people, like, a lot. Let's say, like, in the report that I did the other day in New York, white people made up like 60%, and black people made up 13.7% or 9%, and Latino and Hispanics made up like 18%. Okay, so if black people make up 13%, while when I go to jail, I see nothing but niggas. Sorry for what I say, but I see nothing but niggas. I seen like 2 white people, 3 white people. But we live in a society that, or we live in a country where we are outnumbered by white people. And even though we are outnumbered by white people, in the jails, you mostly see niggas. That is the definition of cultural racism. It also includes our court systems and our penal systems, everything that has to do with that. That's cultural racism. It is a system that is designed by the powers that be to maintain dominance over minorities. Yeah. So, in this article, it said that this is what should make black youth, want to stand up and, engage in activities that challenge the system's, ways, and, try to address some of these inequalities. But that's not what I've seen. When I was coming up, my black friends did not feel motivated. Like here I wrote, black youth, they don't feel welcomed or motivated in the institutional systems, which is school, college. They feel like they don't have a place because they don't recognize equality or let's say it, egalitarianism. If I said that right, if I said it wrong, forgive me. Egalitarianism. Now, egalitarianism, according to the article, focuses on beliefs regarding the importance of the equality between different groups and the ideal way society should go about making this happen. All right. But my friends coming up, they had no interest in the the institutions. School. They had no regard for school. They dropped out to sell dope. Cultural racism represents the laws and the practices that the powers that be, practice in order to maintain dominance. I said that before. All right, so this is how black youth fall by the wayside. Like they leave the institutions to live a life of their own, which is usually a life of crime. And it's not that you're living a life of crime, any life that you live that is outside of what they deem the norm is breaking the law. Like, you know, you can deviate from the norm just a little bit, but if you deviate from the norm too much, you're committing a crime. Like, literally, you're committing a crime. You got to watch out for that. Like, I deviate from the norms all that I can because I'm just not a normal motherfucker. I can't be normal in no setting. Like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna ask the questions that everybody thinking. Like, if I be normal, but act normal, and for that day and go and lay down, I'm be like, dang, man, I'm just a normal Negro. I can't do that. All right. But however, a healthier way that black youth can cope with this negative system is, or in society, is by fighting back individually and collectively. You know, and that's just taking a stand, or, you know, even if it's just you completing school, completing college, like going and being a lawyer, you know, or going to fight on the behalf of the black youth. Like, that's what I plan to do. You know, like, you have to be a part of this system, but, you know, you can still fight back. And it's not even fighting back, it's kind of like, you know, just helping people. Like, you can help people, you know, but, you know, this is one of the ways that you can cope with this negative society and this, you know, in this system that we have, is by, you know, fighting back. One of the things that hurt me, like, you know, racist experiences bring psychological traumas, poor academic performance, and poor physical health as a whole. You know, like, you might not understand it, but it does this to you. You know, it makes people drop out of school to look for other ways, or look for other systems and things of that nature. Or, you know, like, I had a friend who used to tell me, like, you know, don't believe everything you read in the books. And that's true to some extent, but he didn't read no books. So, and then you got your boy, who was that? I forgot who said it. It might have been Gandhi, you know, but they say, and my mom used to tell me a lot, if you ever want to hide something from a black man, put it in the book. You know, it's all about how you look at things, but this system has us looking at it like, no, forget them books, because we have no faith in their institutions. But, you know, you can read enough books where you can create your own institution. You know, like I said, personally, I've experienced some of these things. Like, you know, I did have teachers, you know, be negative with me before I was old enough to understand what was going on. Like, this stuff has actually happened. They were very disrespectful. You know, education and academia is looked as a white man's sport. You know, like, when I was coming up, I thought maybe I'm just dumb because I'm black. You know, education and academia is looked at as a white man's sport. And like I say, some of my friends dropped out to sell drugs because they just didn't have no faith in the institutions. But personally, I believe that engaging in ways to fix society is the healthier route, and it's the more mature route. But, you know, and this is what I was saying, you know, then you see things like, you know, the death of Martin Luther King, the death of Malcolm X, the death of Medgar Evans, and then you get scared. And this is when the heartache sets in. This is when the anxiety and depression sets in, because you like, dang, you know, they oppress me this way, and if I try to stand up, you know, like, I could be killed. Like, even with the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, with the leader, they trying to, like, say that they trying to lock them up, saying that they did, you know, this or that, or fraud or whatnot. Like, you know, black leaders are always going to be targeted. You know, because, like I said, they don't want minorities to organize. It's one of the scariest things in America. But however, I would rather challenge that boundary instead of just falling into the trap and selling dope, selling drugs. I ain't selling no drugs to my own people anyway. The only drug I'ma sell is to my damn self. That's if I feel like I'ma take it. But I don't do drugs. But that's the trap. That's the trap, selling drugs. That's another way that they get you to get wrapped up in that culture of racism, and then you stuck in the system. After you catch that first felony, you just done. You just done, son. So I hope I was able to make some sense, because it was some things in this article that I had experienced, but I didn't know it was a name for it. Or I didn't even know that other people experienced it. And it's like, wow, I think I wrote like something like 2 or 3 pages. I wrote it on Word, and once I, went to submit it, it was like, oh, this is just a short summary. I'm like, dang, I must be really passionate about this. It's scary when you become passionate about something. But, again, Paulo Freire, he suggested that disenfranchised groups of people can engage in individual and collective action toward their own liberation. All right? Now, you just got to think about it. Your son, your daughter, whoever, by the time she in 2nd grade, that was for me. But, according to research, by the time your son or your daughter is 12 years old, they're going to be able to understand racism. And they're going to be able to understand that they live in an unjust society. So as a parent, what you going to do?